don't know the answer to that fragrance question. Maybe I should ask you, because I'm not sure. Yes, good morning and happy Thursday. It's quite chilly out there this morning. It feels like summer's definitely coming to an end. However, I just want to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you multiple questions today, because you are going to be the person answering my fragrance questions. I've got 10 today. 10 questions I would like you to answer for me and just really give me your thoughts, because obviously on a lot of these videos I'm kind of giving you my thoughts on things. I'm maybe trying to answer questions based on my own opinions. And as I've always said, fragrances are all about opinions, and certainly I have some, but they're no better than anyone else's. The person who's never bought a spray before to the person who's bought 1,000. It doesn't matter. We all have our opinions on things. But I'd like to turn the tables today and ask you, because I think the more we share, the more opinions we share, we get better answers and we'll ultimately smell better than everyone else. And that's what I want everyone to do from these, is smell better than everyone else. So what I'm going to do during my sort of morning workout, like I normally do with my sort of fitness fragrance reviews, I'm going to ask you some questions and just see if you can answer them for me. And what I'll do is I'll give my opinion on them as well. And again, please comment below, give your opinions on whatever you think, put the number of the question and then your answer. And then hopefully we'll all have a better knowledge of of fragrances in general. That's the main thing. That's what I want. And yeah, hopefully it'll get you thinking a little bit and make you think a little bit more about fragrances. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my phone on my run this morning. We'll do maybe 3 questions on the run. And then during my walk to the gym, workout and all of that, we'll cover the rest. So yeah, let's get on with it. So I'm doing a shorter run this morning because I've got my marathon walk in London this weekend. Definitely going to vlog it as well, so hopefully it'll probably be up on Sunday. Hope you'll enjoy that one. It's going to be a good event. Looking forward to it. So, first question you would have just seen. Hopefully quite an easy one to start with. If you could only own one fragrance, what would your signature scent be? Now I've mentioned mine a few times. The original Hermes Terre d'Hermes, just because again it's very versatile, and Acqua di Parma Colonia Essenza. Now for me, I always think what you want, if you're looking at something just for one, I mean, probably a lot of you watch this probably own multiple because you're just so intrigued by, different smells, everything. It becomes a bit of a hobby that gets out of hand. But I want something that's going to be citrus based, I think. Maybe a bit of complexity, maybe like a sort of smoky vetiver or something sweet in the background. So then you can wear it kind of summer and winter. I absolutely love winter fragrances, much more than summer ones. But you get sick of them. The heavier nose, you do get sick of wearing them after a while. So you want something that's quite light and refreshing. And yeah, I just find those two in particular are just perfect for that. That nice sort of citrus dominant sort of thing, whether it's lemon in Essenza or that really nice mandarin orange in Terre d'Hermes, just brings versatility. It needs a bit of performance as well, I find, because you want people to notice it as well and you want it to kind of stand out. So, whoa, do you see that squirrel then? Almost took my head off. So yeah, I'd be very interested. Please comment below what your signature scents would be. They're my two. I always think if you're just owning one, it's better to spend a bit more and just have that extra versatility. The question 2, what would the maximum be for you to spend on a fragrance? Now, I've never actually spent, I've probably owned about 400 odd fragrances. I've never spent over £100 on one. Now, obviously, I've bought ones that are worth over £100 if you're buying them from retail, many, but you tend to get some great prices on eBay or sometimes some retail websites. The most I've ever spent in terms of just one go was about £132. It was for my birthday years ago, and I bought 180ml of Acqua di Parma Sandalo and Acqua di Parma Mirror. Wasn't a fan of Mirror, it was very balsamic, and it had this sort of citrus mix of it. It's like citrusy vinegar. It just didn't work for me at all. It was very, very, very much a divisive fragrance, I found anyway. But Sandalo was incredible. And I was just looking last night, you can kind of get that on retail for around 120, 130. And I think if I really wanted it, I would probably spend that for it. And probably the absolute top, if I was just to buy one fragrance rather than like a fragrance haul, probably be around 250 to 300 for Tobacco Vanille. But yeah, I'd be really interested to know what your maximum would be. Is that, if it's your favourite fragrance, or if, would you spend over £200 something you just want to try for the first time? I'd be really interested. But yeah, for me, the maximum I've ever spent on just an individual fragrance was about £90, and that was Van Sandalo, about £85 to £90, 180ml for a niche fragrance, not bad. The third question I've got: any fragrances marketed towards the opposite sex that you would buy? So I think most fragrances now become more unisex anyway. There's certainly, where things have become a lot sweeter, they're definitely becoming more unisex. And there's one though that sprung to mind that's an old school fragrance for me, Guerlain Shalimar. My mum used to have that one, and from memory it's quite oriental, definitely got a bit of like a Middle Eastern vibe, but it's so elegant. I think it's really strong on amber, and amber's quite popular in a lot of my fragrances I own, and yeah, it's just got a little bit more sophistication about it, that's what I would say. And it sort of has this sort of smoky vibe to it. It's not sweet, it's quite, you're quite a serious person, I think, if you've got this. You're not a young sort of teenager or a young woman. I don't think you'd really appreciate it. But yeah, that for me is definitely one. But there's plenty of unisex scents that I really like. There's one from Mancera, which I believe is marketed to women, called Raw Vanilla, and I really like that one. It hasn't got booze in it as a note, but it's definitely got some sort of boozy vibe to it. It's really, really good. So definitely recommend those two. And yeah, I'd just be really interested. I think there's another one from Montel called Starry Night, which that might be marketed towards women. I really want to try that one. And I think another one I quite like was Tom Ford. I can't remember if it's called White Patchouli or White Suede, but it's very nice. So yes, would I buy a fragrance that's marketed to women? Absolutely, and it'd be Guerlain Shalimar. What are your suggestions? Right, let's get this run done. Run done, about to head to the gym. I never listened to my advice, by the way. I ended up still doing 12 miles. Anyway, favourite fragrance notes. So I've got quite a few here, so I don't want to list off complete full amount, but you'll probably agree with something. So I love vanilla. Vanilla is an amazing scent. Tobacco, beautiful. I love boozy notes, whiskey, rum, particular. Baronda, I've mentioned so many times, Bentley for Men Intense. Those fragrances have a really nice one. There's also, I believe it's Guerlain Homme, has a mojito vibe. I believe that's got rum and lime in it. So any sort of boozy note, I'm a real big fan of. But I also like ones like Oak Moss. Oak Moss tends to give that fougere barbershop type feel to fragrances. And yeah, I find it really pleasant. It must be in Colonia Club by Aqua de Palma. Really like that one. Really like that one. I haven't had that for a long time though, but yeah, green scents, a little bit hit and miss for me. But I am going to wear this one today, Karma, at the gym, see if I get any compliments. But this also has a few notes I like. So I've mentioned orange already, patchouli and pine. I think pine's a bit divisive. I've had Pinot Silvestre, I believe it was called, the original, and that was like a Christmas tree. Really strong piney note, and there was a green Jaguar fragrance as well. I wasn't a huge fan of, so it's a bit hit and miss with those ones. But yeah, pink pepper, Sakura's floral notes. Rose I really like, because rose can be quite strong. You don't have to spend a lot then for that. Rose Jam by Lush is great. And also Oud Touch by Frank Olivier. Really nice fragrance. Really, really like it. So yeah, they're fragrance notes I like. I'm sure I've forgotten plenty, to be honest with you, because yeah, there's so many. And obviously a lot of it is how they combine together. And Lush Calm is becoming a real favourite of mine at the moment. So yeah, going to spray that at the gym today, see if I get any compliments with it. But this is signature scent worthy. Anyway, I'll do three more questions during my walk to the gym. Apologies for the sort of biscuit coated teeth I've got at the minute, because I always eat the biscuits at this time. Underrated gems. So we find it hard to say that, because obviously fragrances are opinions, but I'm going to give you some of mine, and I look forward to hearing some of yours as well, because I'm always intrigued to try something new. Rapport Red was one. Very, very cheap fragrance. You get it for about £8 for a 50ml bottle. Nobody ever mentions this. I don't even think it's on Fragrantica, but it's got a note, I believe it's got ebony in it. And ebony's in one of my favourite fragrances, Actress Barbara Urbano, hence the name Urbano. That's a really nice one. Very massive, very old school, but Rapport do a Rapport Black and Rapport Sport, which is in a blue bottle. Definitely worth checking out if anyone just wants a cheap gym scent, or just, like I said, fragrance they can shove in a bag and not worry about. But the red one's my favourite. I actually really like Habit Rouge by Guerlain. It's a dated fragrance now, and I didn't like it initially, but it's really grown on me over time. Not cheap though, not cheap, and they've changed the bottle. It's a lot sort of more square now. So yeah, I'd like to see what it's like in terms of if it's been reformulated or if it smells quite different. What other ones do I really like? Well, to be honest with you, lines actually. I quite like certain lines. I always bang the drum about Lush. If anyone's not tried the Lush body sprays, please try them, because that is probably my favourite fragrance house at the minute. Out of all these expensive brands, Tom Ford and that, I'd probably buy Lush just for the price and performance and just uniqueness and just quality at the scent. Really good, really good. I really like the Police line as well. So Police do like the original, just Police fragrance, quite just a general sort of safe masculine scent. I believe they do one called Freeze. That's kind of like a sweet citrus, more in that sort of Acqua di Gio sort of vibe, I would say. And there was one called Police Independent, which was absolutely great as well. And yeah, I really recommend another one as well, is Molten Brown. I don't know if you can get this overseas, but you definitely get it in the UK. And I had a fragrance from them called, it was called Russian Leather originally. It's now called Dark Leather. And that's kind of a grown-up masculine scent. Someone who's in their 40s who actually wants to smell like a man. Performance is great. It's kind of like a light leather scent, but it definitely can detect the leather. I've got that as a shower gel as well, and yeah, they do some really nice sort of shower gels and fragrances combined with them. Some really nice rose ones, musk ones, male and female, so definitely worth checking out those ones. But yeah, send me your ideas. I'm looking forward to reading these. And so, worst bottle design you've had? Well, there's one that came to mind straight away for me. The Mugler Amen line, so whether that was pure malt, pure Havana, or just the original Amen, kind of come in these like rubber flasks with like a star glass bottle. And yeah, you just can't really spray it because the rubber on it's so thick. You can't really spray it, and then it sort of half comes out, and you don't get as good performance there. And then, yeah, it's just really irritating. That's probably the one I hate the most. I know a lot of people have had issues with that, and they've almost cut the top of it with a knife just to get that kind of rubber off it, so they get a proper sort of spray out there. I think the other ones for me are not actually because they're bad bottles, but they're just really boring. And actually, the fragrance is really good in my opinion, and they're almost sort of letting themselves down. One's Jack's Bogart Pour On. Really like that one. Really like that. Is a clone of Pure Havana. Speaking of Amen, or it's not a clone, but it's got that sort of vibe to it. On a much sort of cheaper and much more competitive level. But because you can't get Pure Havana anymore, I'm looking at getting that one again. Get it for around £20, and it's gone up a bit in price. And the Zaro Visit. I don't know if anyone used to have this one, but it was a sort of, just again, a clear sort of bottle, and it was this sort of blue juice, so you thought it was going to be like one of those traditional shower jelly fragrances, but it wasn't. It was much more sort of woody, a really nice woody scent. And yeah, just that again, that transition between being a bit more juvenile and a bit more grown up, but without being old, that was a great fragrance for it. So yeah, really, I just think those two fragrances let themselves down, and Amen was more just because they don't need rubber. There's a reason why rubber isn't on a lot of lids, but I do like their bottle designs. I do like the flask idea. I just think the execution was wrong. Right, just hit 20,000 steps, so on to the next question. Question for you is, what is your favourite ever compliment, the best compliment you've ever got, one that just sticks out to you? Well, I guess for mine, it's got to be the school one, where I was doing a session, the horse sports session, and then the school I was in had an assembly, and apparently, after I'd gone out, so I had to go outside to the next one, everyone said, it was you who smelled really nice. And apparently the whole assembly had stopped to ask, well, what's this really nice vanilla cooking smell? And I was wearing Lush Sticky Dates, and it filled up the hall, where I'd been in there for about an hour, it filled up the whole hall. So apparently they actually stopped the assembly to try and find out where that smell was coming from. And then obviously they worked out it was me when I was doing my sessions in there. So I think any compliment where you've had over 200 people have to take note of the smell, it's got to be number one, hasn't it? But there was one I actually remember as well. When I worked as a receptionist, did a check-in. And I used to sit people down and go through the map and the pack, or just like things in the local area. And I just remember this lady was really thankful, and she goes, by the way, you smell really nice. And, it always just stuck out to me, that one. I remember feeling really good after it, just really lovely family. And I just thought, they've travelled 6 hours. It was a 6-hour trip. I think they came from Cornwall way. And they just probably wanted to check in, but I'd sat them down, spoke for sort of 15, 20 minutes, literally that long. And the last thing she said after all that journey, probably just want to get unpacked, because that smelled nice. And it was, I mentioned it the other day, but it's Calvin Klein Dark Obsession. Really underrated gem. Speaking of underrated gems, that's another one. It's not one that you think strong, but people compliment you on it. I've had Facebook messages from a few people before asking what that is. So, yeah, if you've not tried that one, recommend it. A little bit more youthful, but if you're quite happy to pull off something a bit younger, that's the one to go for me. So it's just gone midday, just finished my gym workouts, walking home. So we'll do the last questions. No compliments on Karma, but I put it back on now and it is stunning. I really recommend that. If there's one fragrance to get at the moment, that's the one I'd recommend. But what were the ones that really got me into buying? So I'm really intrigued to hear your answers for this, because obviously scents have changed massively over the years. And something I did want to say is, obviously where I've been working in schools, children and stuff have an interest in smells from a young age, and I remember I did as well. Obviously it's just one of your senses ultimately, and I remember being told off by my mum in the shower once because I used her Prada shower gel, and obviously Prada's not the cheapest, and she said, oh, it's nearly gone, because I love the smell of it so much. And I always remember my dad wearing Aramis when we went on holiday to Antigua. And I loved his Amen at the time as well, and I still like that one today. So, I do have some early memories. It's much younger than you think when you start to have an interest in what smells nice. But the one that really got me into it, to be honest with you, was Paco Rabanne Pour Homme, which my brother had. It was just like this soapy smell. And I remember thinking it was an Acqua di Parma because I'd already smelled a couple that he'd had. And yeah, that is, to me, it's a brilliant. I still really like that one. It's old school, but it still works because it just has that clean sort of barbershop vibe. So that's the one that then got me into buying and smelling a lot more of them. And really, just to be honest, from uni, it was things like Dupe and Calvin Klein Obsession. So that was my dad buying me them at the time as well. And yeah, they're probably the main ones for me. But obviously, you try so many things over the years, and then when you start spending a bit more, you get even more interested. I remember my brother getting a Barno for the first time, as I mentioned earlier. And yeah, that's a stunner as well. And you just start to then get an appreciation of notes. But it was definitely Paco Rabanne Pour Homme that made me go from sort of owning a few and liking them, then kind of just getting a bit bored, to then going, right, yeah, I'm going to stick at this, and it's going to become a hobby of mine. So yeah, please comment. I'm really intrigued by this one. This is probably the question I'm most interested in. So I've just hit 30,000 steps. So question 9, the future of fragrances. What do I think is going to happen in the future? Well, they've already become more unisex, so that's something that's happened. I think you're going to get more all-in-one sort of thing. So I know Lynx have been doing a lot of things recently where it's like spraying sort of for men below the belt a little bit. And I think you're going to get fragrances now where you can literally spray them everywhere. So you can spray them into your hair, so it'd be almost like a hairspray. Obviously, it'd be a body spray, it'd be a deodorant, and yeah, it'll just be like this spray that does like 4 in 1. And I think that would be a way, almost you could market it as obviously saving money as well. But obviously that'll be more at the cheaper end. But I think that's where it's going to start. I think you're going to get these more all-in-one where you can just buy them and just use them for everything. And yeah, I quite like that idea. I'd be interested to know if they can make that. Obviously, you've got to consider things like chemicals when you put it in your hair and under your armpit, and obviously in more sensitive sort of private areas and stuff. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to see if anyone comes up with that. But that's my sort of marketing ploy. So if any company wants to collaborate with me on that, I'll definitely do it. But yeah, it'd be interesting to know what ideas you come up with here. Be as creative as you can be. Okay, and the final question is, what would you want? What do you like to see as the sort of future of fragrance content online? Obviously, I've tried to come up with my own ideas based on my interests, going for runs and stuff, and talking all things fragrances during those. But you know, things like ChatGPT, I can't just make them up as I go along, really. But of course, it's not about what I like doing; it's also about what you like, and I definitely. Well, I really appreciate the fact that some people are watching 20, 30 minutes a day of me talking rubbish, probably. So, yeah, if there's anything you'd like to see from me, but not just me, what do you want to see from people who are making fragrances? What sort of thing that you'd be looking for when you're searching that could be a little bit different to what it is today, rather than just people, running or standing in front of a camera talking about compliment gathers and beast motors? How can we make it that little bit different? What would your suggestions be? And hopefully then I can implement some of them as well. So there we are. There are my 10 questions today for you to answer. Hopefully that's giving you a bit of thinking to do today. And yeah, it will be interesting to see some responses. I appreciate any responses I get, and any fragrance ideas. I'd love to try some new ones. I want to do a bit of another fragrance buy soon as well. So yeah, hopefully if you can give me some ideas, I might be able to do a review on them as well. And yeah, the more the better, because I said there's so many out there. I don't think you'd ever try them all in your life, but I certainly will try and get through as many as I can, that's for sure. And again, it's always nice to buy the ones that you love as well. And I hope I've mentioned a few today that you can use as well. So yeah, there will be some more fragrance videos obviously coming up this weekend, as I said. Very exciting doing this marathon walk, not for charity this time. I've done 2 this year. This third one's just for me to enjoy and have a good time. And yeah, hopefully you'll watch the vlog, and yeah, I'll try and make it exciting as much as I can. So yeah, thanks for watching today. Look forward to hearing your responses. Catch you later.